Now, if you haven't been paying for your e-tolls, you may still be compelled to settle that debt, so says the Inclusive Society Institute. It says the South African National Roads Agency cannot, in terms of the Constitution, write off debt owed by millions of motorists. This despite government announcing that it's scrapping e-tolls altogether, and that motorists who have been paying e-tolls may receive some money from, or rather in the form of refund. Now, CEO of the Inclusive Society Institute joins us now on the line from Cape Town to discuss this a bit further. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Swanepoel. Just firstly, how does this work? Is this a case of just being fair? Because what about those who are going to be paid back all the money that they've paid into e-tolls? I mean, if people are being paid back, then why are those who didn't pay for the e-tolls still expected to pay?
Well, first of all, good afternoon. Good to be with you again.
Thank you.
Well, yes, that was what motivated us to get the legal opinion in the first instance, because our attitude was, or our view is, that if you're giving relief to those that have, in a sense, broken the law by not paying the e-toll, then surely those that have paid, the law abiders, need to be given some relief in the form of refunding their money as well, in terms of the constitutional principle of equality, that is. So what we did is we sought a legal opinion on that basis, and the legal opinion came back to us and said, well, we hear your question, but it's moot, because there is no provision in law for SANRAL to write off that debt. It is a well-established constitutional principle that an authority can only act in terms of what is provided for in the law, and there is no provision in the SANRAL Act to provide for the writing off of that debt.
So what implication will this have on the promise by government to pay back those who were paying for their e-tolls?
Well, I think we're in quite a messy situation at the moment, because whilst the principle of paying the money back might be the right way to go, the law does not provide for that at the moment. What I would say is that, and we have written a letter to the Premier of Gauteng, who, as you know, is very passionate about this issue. What I would suggest is that they immediately decide what they are going to do with this debt, and at least promulgate in the Government Gazette a new toll of 0, so that the debt doesn't continue to build up. Because whilst SANRAL will not be able to make law going backwards, they have got the power to set the new toll fee by publishing it in the Government Gazette with 14 days notice. So what I would say, that if there is an intention to write off this debt, then at least make it 0 from today going forward, so that the people do not build up further debts and liabilities.
So did your legal advice team speak specifically about the fact that one of the contentious issues when it came to e-tolls and the fact that they were imposed on Gauteng motorists and those who visited this province, it was something that by law had to be discussed, it had to be gazetted, the government had to have public meetings with people to discuss that they are trying to implement this, but it was just something that was put on our laps as motorists as a surprise, and suddenly we were told we have to pay it. So that was a huge contentious issue, because by law government didn't do the right thing. So does that not count against what your legal advising team says in terms of government having no, they don't have to pay anybody back according to law because they didn't follow the law to start with?
Well, those are two separate issues. In the first instance, we look at what the law says. All the rest is white noise around it. They have to act in terms of the law. And that is what we have said. We need to maybe try and become innovative in this regard. So the only way out really is to strike down the SANRAL Act as being unconstitutional or invalid, and citing the fact that the public participation processes were not carried out efficiently. But there has been arguments and cases in that regard in the past, and that's a long shot as to whether you're going to be successful or not. Those are issues that we have to sit down and study going forward. But as it stands now, our legal advice says to us, that they cannot write it off. And I know that some people have raised the issues of prescription, that debt prescribes after 3 years. Our legal advice tells us that it is a statutory levy and therefore does not have the same rules as what a civil debt would be, and therefore it does not prescribe. And in any event, not paying your toll account is not only a financial matter; it is also a criminal act not to pay your account. So if were to be challenged, not only would you have to pay it back, but you would also have a criminal case against you.
But in any case, Mr. Swanepoel, I don't think there's any motorists who did pay towards e-tolls who expected actually that government would keep its promise to pay them back, to be honest with you. I don't think there are many motorists who believe that this would happen. There wasn't even any dates set by government so that we can hold them accountable in terms of paying back that 7 billion rand or us paying the 7 billion rand debt rather that Samuel had. So, this is probably going to be an issue that goes on for much longer than, the actual issue of scrapping e-tolls went on for, right?
Yes, I think the outstanding debt is much more than the figure that you've mentioned, because as I have, the toll fees collected so far is around 7 billion rand.
Yeah.
So that money needs to be paid back to the people that have paid it. And yes, that is exactly why we got involved, because if nobody pushes this issue, then I'm pretty sure that government would allow let sleeping dogs lie and not pay the money back. And that's why we got the legal opinion in terms of the constitutional principle of equality, that those that have paid are treated the same as those that are not paid. And paid back. Our action is actually not against the people that haven't paid. Our action is for the people that have paid. But that's where we find ourselves.
So you say that, just very quickly, Mr. Swanepoel, you say that you've written, for instance, to Premier Panyaza Lesufi. I don't know if he's responded to you, but where are you taking this next? Are you going to take it to the Constitutional Court so that there is a clear decision on this, and maybe dates are even shared so that, government can be held accountable if they are, told that they have to pay back the debt?
Well, this is something that we are now will have to. I mean, we've only just got the legal opinion last week or the week before, so we're busy working out our strategy. But we will do whatever is necessary to ensure that the principle of equality is carried out. Now, the next step is we haven't heard back from the Premier's office yet, but as I say, it's early days. We must give them some time. But the next step, we had a discussion earlier this week with our legal team, is to take this matter up with SANRAL and to see whether we are all on the same page or not, and see what their intentions are. And based on the feedback that we get from these two parties, we will then sit down and design a strategy to go forward. But as I said, we feel very strongly about the fact of equality, and if the debt is written off, which we say can't be, but if it were to be written off for the people that have not paid, all very good, so long as you pay those that have paid back as well.
Yeah, it's only fair. Thank you very much for speaking to us. That's CEO of the Inclusive Society Institute, Darryl Swanepoel.